What is up everyone, Socrates 101 here, and today I'm doing a video which might not interest the majority of you. So I'm just going to explain very brief, don't click away just yet, let me explain very briefly what this is about, what I'm going to do, then we will go from there. So the thing is, I'm participating in this league, raid, and I'm taking things very seriously, and one might say a bit too serious, and I'd even might say, well, this is kinda exaggerative, but I do think I want to come well prepared to this draft, and I do want to do the things I want to use. Well, definitely come prepared and use what I'm comfortable with, use what I want to use, and I do think that is a very opportune moment. And so here I just went over every single tier, draft option picks, things I want to pick first. As soon as I get to a tier and it's still available, I just want to snatch it right before anyone else does. And other potential Pokemon in that tier that might fit well with the team and with the members I've already drafted, etc. So what we're going to be doing is we're just going to cover every single tier, being the Mega tier, OUA, OUB, BL, UU, RU, and NU. I'm going to try and make this interesting. Not sure how I'm gonna do that, but I'm not sure how long this is going to be either, because maybe I will split this up in two parts. So obviously this is going up after the actual draft, because I don't want people to, know what I'm going for. As I said in my announcement video already, though, I want to be going for a very offensive team, because I'm an offensive player, and so that's what I'm aiming for. So without any further ado, let's just hop right into this thing. There are quite some megas we can pick from, and all of them are, well, the majority of them are OUA. And your mega has already been paid for, so it really doesn't cost you any points. But as soon as you pick a mega that is, like, let's say 140 points, you get 40 points back. So you have 1,040 points to spend on the other Pokemons in your draft. So there are a couple megas, I listed them right here, that I want to use, and you can see very well my first mega pick I'd like to have is Mega Gardevoir, because Mega Gardevoir is already good in the standard OU metagame, but it's insane in something that also has a lot of lower tier Pokemons involved, because Mega Gardevoir has limited switch-ins. So that's kind of what we're aiming for right here. It's definitely the first mega I had in mind, but let's say Mega Gardevoir, I don't even want to argue about why Mega Gardevoir is that good, because everyone knows it breaks through Substitute with a Hyper Voice. Nothing can really take it. It also gets Calm Mind, it gets nice coverage, you can put a hidden power to your liking on the Mega Gardevoir, so it's just in general an amazing Pokemon to have on your team. So that's definitely the mega I want to have. And hopefully by when this video is uploaded, you can already know whether I have obtained my Mega Gardevoir or not. But other potential megas I want to have or use are first of all Mega Scissor, because Mega Scissor can do so many different stuff. It's always going to be physical attacker, but you can run bulky SD, you can run offensive 3 attacks roost, offensive SD. You can even make it defensive, you can go Toxic Stall if you'd like, because that could very well work in a meta game like the GBA or the MBL is. So Mega Scissor, very versatile, also gets access to Defog, which is nothing to forget, which is something I'd really want to use. So as soon as Mega Gardevoir gets picked, before I get my first pick, I'm definitely going with Mega Scissor right there, because Mega Scissor is amazing in this metagame as well, in this system. Other megas I'd like to use are Mega Alakazam, just because it's a monster. It outspeeds everything that's not Scarf, and it hits insanely hard. Sword Y, also, I mean, it brings the sun. It hits very hard, and you could even go physical with that thing. As soon as everyone is expecting your sun boosted Fire Blast, you can just catch them off guard with a sun boosted Flare Blitz. I do know that Zard X is going to be the better mega when physical, but Zard Y can run special and physical, which can catch your opponent more off guard. I do think it's a bit more versatile in that regard, since it does set up the sun than the other one is, than the Zard X variant is. So next one, Mega Sceptile, same story. You can run it both physical and special. Mega Manectric is there for momentum, and Mega Pidgeot is if there's I want to if all my megas that I wanted get picked, which is not very likely, but if all my megas get picked, then I'm just going to wait until the very last round to pick Mega Pidgeot, because it's also a very good mega. I'm not going to use it that much then, but I mean Hurricanes that you can't miss, Stab Hurricanes you can't miss, Heat Waves, a Work Up, Substitute Roost, all that shit, all those things, all those moves you can use. It's just pretty insane. The mega list is just spread because you can see a mega right here, a mega right here. So those are things, but here's actually a bigger mega list, but that basically because no one has picked them in the GBA. This is going to be the exact same list as in the GBA, so that's definitely a thing. You can see in the GBA no one has used Mega Aerodactyl, Aggron, Charizard Y, Mega Diancie, etc. So this mega list is very hard to keep track on, broadcast to you. It's going to be a lot easier with OUA. OUA, obviously, what I'm going to be picking in OUA is completely dependent on what my mega pick is going to be, because I really like to use, if I pick Mega Scissor, right, I don't really need a Jirachi or a Scissor or a Bisharp, but those go very well with Mega Gardevoir. So if I'm going to get Mega Scissor, which is not my first pick, so actually it should have been the other way around, but it doesn't really matter. As soon as I get Mega Scissor, I'm probably going to get Manaphy, because Manaphy is something that Mega Scissor is a wall breaker, and Manaphy is, or can be used as a late game sweeper, because SD Bullet Punch, or just Bullet Punch in general, can be very well used together with Manaphy, because Manaphy is a wall breaker, can be Calm Mind, can be Tail Glow, Sub Tail Glow, Leftovers, Rain Dance even, all that good stuff. Rain Dance Manaphy with Mega Scissor is going to be insane combination, because Scissor has only one thing that it's really weak to, and that is fire, and as soon as you can get up the rain, Scissor does not have a quad weakness anymore, and it's just the bulkiest thing ever. So I'm going to opt for Manaphy if I do end up getting Mega Scissor, but I'm not really sure what I'm going to opt for as soon as I get Mega Gardevoir, because there are a number of options, but I really wanted to use a Steel type alongside the Mega Gardevoir, and later on I'd actually like to use a Dragon as well to get the Steel Fairy Dragon Core, just to complete that. So with Mega Gardevoir, I'd really like to use Jirachi, but then I'm kind of doubling up on the Psychic types already. So maybe it's not the greatest idea. I could cover that with the rest of my draft, but I don't want to be covering my weaknesses this early already, because I don't want to make my first two picks and then I have to patch up my mistakes in the rest of the draft. So I do think that's actually going to weaken me. Another thing that could work very well is regular Scissor, let's say Choice Bandit Scissor with Mega Gardevoir. It gets the U-turn, it threatens out a lot of things, you have the priority with Bullet Punch, and another thing that's really good with Mega Gardevoir is going to be Bisharp. Bisharp has one quad weakness, which is going to be fighting, and you can switch Mega Gardevoir in on fighting moves for days. Bisharp also with the option to set up with the priority Sucker Punch. Just in general, Bisharp hits insanely hard. You can run him a couple different sets in this format, so I do think that's actually going to be a good first pick as well. So my first OU pick all depends on what Mega I'm going to get. If, however, I do get the wheel pick, let's say this is an RNG, so random number generator. Let's say if I get in first place, then I'm obviously going to get Mega Gardevoir. Let's say if I do get Mega Gardevoir and I do get wheel pick on the other one, then what I'd like to obtain next to my Mega Gardevoir, Kyurem Black and Jirachi, because then I do have my Fairy Steel Dragon Core, which is just phenomenal. Kyurem Black also being a mon, sorry for this, that is very good in this tier, that is very good in this format, so that's definitely a trio that is to be reckoned with, and I don't even need to bring all three of them, but people have to prepare for all three of them at all time. Jirachi also being one of the most versatile Pokemon in the tier. You can run a Choice Scarf, you can run Physical, Special, Spadef, support. You can run anything with Jirachi, so that's why Jirachi is very good in this format as well. If I'm last wheel pick, I'd like to have Mega Gardevoir plus Heatran because they cover each other's weaknesses really well. Or if Mega Gardevoir gets snatched, I'd like to use Mega Scissor plus Manaphy as stated prior. So those are all things I took into consideration. A lot of variables, a lot of options, but I do think I've covered the majority of them. I'm obviously not able to cover everything, but I am going to try that. So another potential OUA Pokemon are obviously going to be Latios. Jirachi doesn't need to be here anymore because I already wanted that one. It's stated up here. Kyurem Black, which also doesn't need to be here anymore. Sylveon, Excadrill, Heatran, Azumarill, Keldeo, and Gengar. I don't need to explain any of these because these are all top tier threats. Pokemon I've used a lot in the past, Pokemon I feel comfortable with, Pokemon that do have various move pools, or Pokemon that execute their one role that they have very, very well. Let's take Keldeo. I mean, Keldeo is always going to be special attacker. It's always going to be running a Scald and a Secret Sword, right? But it can be Sub-CM, it can be Specs, it can be Scarf, it can be Taunt with 3 attacks. Keldeo is always going to be the special attacker. But it does it so incredibly well because Keldeo only has a handful of switch-ins. It's insane. So that's kind of why I want to run Keldeo as well, because Keldeo is just really good. So going on to OUB, and I actually forgot to scroll through this because you can obviously see all the options right here. Let's just go to the free agents because these are the ones that are being used in the current GBA. So I'm just going to scroll through this until we reach all the free agents. Bisharp is actually not used. Celebi is also a mon I wanted to use, but it's an OUA, which is rather unfortunate. Gengar also was a thing that was just in there, and I'm not sure why. Slowbro is not picked because there is this rule that you have to Mega first turn and then it takes away the regenerator, but that's also why I don't want it as a Mega. Otherwise I would use it as a Mega. But going on to OUB, which is a rather small tier if I'm not mistaken. Okay, here we go. So these are all the OUB Pokemon right here, so you can read them yourself, you can pause the video if you like, but I'm just going to go and cover what I thought was the best for my team, or the best in general. Looking at this team, you can see immediately in your top left corner of this section in the screen, it's going to be Tornadus Therian. Tornadus Therian is OUB. I have no idea why, but it's there. It's right there. And it can be run special, physical, AV, life orb. It does have access to regenerator, so as soon as it gets weakened, you just switch out, get 33% of your health back, which is insane. Which is a ludicrous amount as well. So that's why as soon as Tornadus Therian is still able to be picked, I'd love to snatch that in front of everyone's face and just no one can use. It's really annoying to face. It's also a force to be reckoned with. It has a huge move pool. You can run it offensive, defensive, supportive. It's insane. So Tornadus Therian is definitely a force to be reckoned with, and that's why I have it as my first pick. Another mon that's very versatile is going to be Victini. Victini can also be a support set, not so much a defensive set, because it has a bit too much weaknesses for that. But you can run it physical, special, mixed. I do think mixed Victini is probably one of the best things in this metagame, in this format. Like the GBA, so Victini is obviously going to be my second pick after Tornadus Therian. Tornadus Therian also having an insane speed tier with, I do think it's 126. Could very well be wrong, but it's insanely fast. So that's definitely a thing you need to keep in mind. Both of them having access to U-turn, so you can keep momentum if you threaten out certain Pokemon and shift the game around. These two Pokemon can shift the entire game into your favor, so that's why they are my first picks for the OUB tier. Other potential OUB mods are going to be Gyarados, as a probably majority of the time going to be running a bulky Dragon Dance set. Mamoswine, because it has access to priority, hits insanely hard. Gliscor, also variety of roles. and Slowbro because Slowbro is just a fat bastard. I cannot explain it in any other way. Slowbro is just a fat piece of shit, and it does what it has to do, and you can use Regenerator not instead of. This is why I prefer running a regular Slowbro over the Mega Slowbro in this format. So that's gonna be it for the OUB. Let's go to BL. BL is also a very small tier. As we start with Infernape, and then that's going to be about it. So one lower. Okay, there we go. So what I'm seeing in BL, the first thing I noticed is Suicune is in this tier. If you don't know, I love Suicune. It's a defensive monster, access to set up. It has offensive pressure as well. You can even run it offensive. You can even run Tailwind support with it if you like. So looking at this tier, there's only one mon. I want to make a very bold statement right here, but Suicune can 1v1 every single mon in the BL tier. It's a very bold statement. Yeah, that's very true. But Suicune is that good. I can't believe really it's BL, but it's actually UU in fact. And I do think that's just great. So Suicune is definitely a force to be reckoned with as well. So here we go with Suicune. Other potential BL mons I like to use are Infernape, because Infernape has nice coverage, nice move pool as well, access to Stealth Rocks, Fake Up, lots of priority, nice stab moves, very hard hitting, and is very fast. I don't even need to explain Infernape really, it's just amazingly good. Another thing is Volcarona. Volcarona is the setup sweeper. You can go bulky or offensive, or just mess around with it in general. Another thing is Chrono. That was in this tier list. I was just like, yeah, that's really pretty impressive that it's there, and you can just set up a sword stance with a Lumberry, and you just knock off, destroys everything. Weavile is just very fast, very threatening Pokemon in general, and Zygarde is actually cursive. It's actually so it's there and it's good, but I mean, if everything else on this list gets picked, I'm going to use Zygarde, otherwise absolutely not. So it's not very likely that we'll be picking up Zygarde, but if I do think that it fits my team very well, I don't have a dragon yet, then Zygarde is always there as an option. I don't want to put too many quad weaknesses on my team though, and Zygarde has a very glaring one, and I mean, you can say, well, Weavile and Volcarona, but Weavile is very frail anyway, and Volcarona is actually a viable thing to mention, but not too many rock Pokemon are going to be ran in this format, I don't think. So next is UU, and UU is actually a bigger tier, so let's just go into UU and just let's go with this. So I mean, first pick of well, Amoonguss is actually in here as well. You can see if in RU, as soon as I pick Amoonguss, I want Alomomola as well to go with that Regenerator Core. But my first pick in UU, because I kind of had to go on the defensive side, because I've only been picking offensive threats and things I do think that are really good. So a thing I wanted to go with is Empoleon, because Empoleon is a beast, it's a monstrosity, it sets up Stealth Rocks, which I haven't selected too many Pokemons that have Stealth Rocks. It can defog, very reliable defogger, it gets access to Scald, Grass Knot, Ice Beam, nice coverage, you can run an agility offensive set, you can do various things with Empoleon as well. Another thing, just a bulky water type. Vaporeon is, once again, like the Slowbro, a fat bastard. Vaporeon is very slim, but it's fat at the same time. That's definitely a thing I want to use. It's a wish passer as well, so always a threat. Vaporeon will always be a threat. Other potential UU mons I wanted to use in this long list, I'm just gonna go through it real quick right now. From Chandelure and lower, there we go. These are other UU Pokemons that are in there, but these are the ones I'd like to use. Amoonguss is in there because Amoonguss with the Generator Core. Chestnut, because Chestnut once more is a monstrosity, it has access to spikes, it hits actually pretty damn hard if you ask me, and you can be running a Belly Drum Stalic Berry set if you like. Crobat, because Crobat is defog, very fast, reliable, bulky mon. It's not the bulkiest of mons, but it does have actually instant recovery, which is also very good. Slowking, maybe as a Regenerator Core as well. Crocodile, because Crocodile is one of those mons that can be run defensive, can be run offensive, has access to stealth rocks, nice coverage moves, and intimidate, which is not unimportant. And this also allows me to get pursuit traps off on certain mons. So Crocodile, very various Pokemon, a Pokemon that can cover a lot of things, that can actually patch up the majority of weaknesses my ideal team thus far already had. Tangrowth, once more, Regenerator. A lot of Regenerator balance are in UU, there are in this thing that I really would like to draft. And the last one is Porygon 2, because Porygon 2, as stated before, is a fat bastard on, you know, Toxic Salt, Thunder Wave spam, all that things. Porygon 2 does it for you very reliably. It just simply doesn't die. Access to nice stab move with the Tri-Attack, access to either Burn, Freeze, or Paralyze with that, so that's really good. So next tier is also a pretty big one if I'm not mistaken, so I'm sorry if you missed a couple of ones, being Shreven and Umbreon, Venusaur, and Yanmega, which are all in the UU tier. But we're just gonna go to RU right now. Not a lot of players in the GBA have picked a lot of RU Pokemon, mainly being the Cincinnati Loudreds, which is the only team that has picked 3 RU Pokemon. But RU Mons, as soon as I get Among Us, I want Alamahola, because that is such a good Regenerator core. It's annoying as shit to play against. I'm going to try and obtain that. Next mon, if I don't get Among Us, it's definitely going to be Electros, because Electros has an insane move pool. Majority of the time I will be running the Assault Vest set, but I could be running a physical coil set. That's also a very good option. Electros has nice coverage moves, also utility moves with the knockoff. So I don't really need to elaborate Electros all that much, because it's just that versatile, and that's why I want to run it. Other potential RU Pokemons I noticed that are in here that I wanted to use are Whimsicott, because Whimsicott is annoying as fuck. Moltres, which as soon as the opponent doesn't have Stealth Rocks up, then Moltres is going to be a huge threat. Escavalier, because Escavalier is fat, very strong, okay coverage, it's alright, it's not the best mon, but it's alright. Dragalge, because Dragalge hits like a monster. You don't have reliable switch-ins for Dragalge, there's no such thing. Apart from the next guy, which I'm going to name, which is Cobalion. Dragalge does obtain Scald, so it's not that reliable anyway. But Cobalion is also a very good supportive Pokemon, can be run offensive, you can run sub-SD, you can do a number of things with Cobalion, and that's why I'd like to have it here. I haven't actually touched a Rotom yet, but Rotom Cut is a great Pokemon. I haven't selected too many grass types, so maybe Rotom Cut will be a nice addition to my team. And the last one is Zoroark, just for mind games. I love playing mind games, because usually I do get on top of them. And Zoroark can actually put in a lot of work, and that's just going to be great. So the very last tier that we are going to be covering is NU, which is a very huge tier. RU had a lot of Pokemon which I didn't really want to pick. One thing I'd like to add to my RU list is actually Heliolisk, because it 1v1s bulky water types. It's a very threatening Pokemon in general. Does get access to Volt Switch, etc. So that's actually a pretty threatening one. So going into the NU Pokemon, I'm not sure how long this video has been, because I cannot check the timer, because I'm using both screens to record as well. But once more, there are actually quite some NU Pokemons being used in a GBA, but because this tier list is just straight up snatched from the GBA, no regrets there. There are some Pokemon I'd really like to use. If I do not have obtained a bulky water type, or just one, or I feel like it could be a nice addition, I'd really love to use Seismitoad, because Seismitoad is really good, but as soon as I already have a physically defensive Pokemon, then I'd rather have Jellicent, because Jellicent has access to that Will-O-Wisp, to that Toxic, to it's also a spin blocker as well, so that's going to be really good. Or Gramble, because Gramble, once more, Intimidate, Fairy typing is really good. Granbull in general is very threatening. Everyone is going to expect me to bring a defensive Granbull, but you can also very well go with a Choice Banded Granbull if you'd like. You can still run Intimidate, so it can do both jobs pretty well. Other potential NU Pokemon. The NU tier list, as you can see, is over. You can't really see it, but it's over 150 Pokemons long. Basically, just pointing out that there is no such you can run a lot of NU Pokemon successful, but a lot of them just aren't viable at all. But you can see my list for NU is pretty long because I know it's a thing. Cacturn, both physical, special, it gets priority. You can set up a sub by threatening things out. Cacturn is actually pretty good in this format, also gets access to Water Absorb. Flareon, because as soon as I don't really have a physical hitter that just breaks things, just straight up breaks them, I could bring Guts Flareon really well. Guts Flareon is a force to be reckoned with by every single team ever, because it has only 3 moves really, or maybe 4 if you count in Flame Charge, but man. Let's just go with Flare Blitz, Facade, and Superpower. It hits like a monster. Hits like a monster after the Guts boost. Probably even before the Guts boost, but let's say after the Guts boost, it hits even a lot harder. So you have to prepare for Flareon, otherwise if I bring it and you haven't prepared for Flareon, it's going to claim 2 kills every single game. So you need to prepare for that. Well, next one is going to be Garbodor, because Garbodor is just a smelly bastard. Garbage odor, whatever, but it's there. It sets up spikes, hits things with Gunk Shot, just does well in general. Next one, Glaceon. Glaceon is actually a nice Pokemon to have in it back. As soon as I would pick Glaceon, I'm not going to use it a lot, but I could run it as a Scarf or a Spec set just to catch things off guard, just hit things really hard. You can run Baton Pass with it to keep momentum. Scarf Ice Beam actually hits a lot of things because there are a lot of weak things to ice in the entire tier list anyway, especially higher up. So I do expect there are a lot of people to select quad ice weaknesses. Malamar is a thing. Malamar is definitely a thing because Malamar can be running Trick Room, Rest Talk, physically defensive, no, especially defensive, but stuff like that. Malamar can be versatile, it can get late game sweeps. I don't think it's going to be too useful if I would pick it, but it's there, it has its niche things which it can do, so that's definitely going to be it. Pyroar, I mean, choice specs, choice Scarf variant, access to Hyper Voice, Stab Hyper Voice, which goes through subs. Definitely a threatening Pokemon right there. The same goes for Sock. It doesn't go through subs, but Sock with the Mold Breaker. Nothing with Levitate is safe because Earthquake and shit. Sock actually also has limited switch-ins, even though it's NU close. Choice Bandit Close Combat has limited switch-ins, especially combined with a Poison Jab. So that's definitely a thing. Sock is also something to be reckoned with. Taurus is just a very fast Pokemon. It outspeeds a lot of things. Taurus is mainly going to be used then as a revenge killer with the Sheer Force Life Orb Rock Climb. Next up, Vileplume, because Vileplume is just kind of fat, but also very successfully used offensively. Xatu is a magic bouncer, physically defensive one. Rocky Helmet, Colbur Berry, you name it, Xatu can actually also be used offensively as well physically as defensive, but it's not as good. I prefer just running the defensive set, but maybe if the opponent requires it, I'm going to be running an offensive Xatu set because it does a nice move pool in general. The last one is going to be Zebstrika. I wasn't actually convinced about Zebstrika, but Shoddy's of the Bayern Munichs actually kind of showed me that Zebstrika can be a very useful Pokemon in general. Maybe something to add to this thing is Meganium as well, because thinking of Shoddy's team, he actually threw away Meganium and obtained Zebstrika, but Meganium is also can also be running an SD set, because no one expects that. It's a cleric, it's something that has reliable recovery, something that can just sit there and laugh, set up screens, etc. So that's going to be it. That's going to be it for my draft thoughts in general. Let me know if you disagree on any of my draft picks. Let me know if you think I have overdone this, which is obviously the case, but let's just say I didn't. And let me think, what would have you have done in my scenario? I mean, everything is open right now, and we're just going to see how this turns out. So basically, I don't think any of the RU, NU things are going to go as I had planned them, because obviously the draft has a lot of variables, and maybe I'm not going to even pick the Pokemon that are even in a potential list. So that's going to be it for today. Really hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in my next video, which is probably going to be elaborating the entire team that I have actually picked. So I'll see you there.